everybody, and welcome to the Hookup on Music podcast. My name is Tony, and we have made it to episode 38. We are, as someone said the other day that we are a newer podcast. I don't think that you could quite be newer at anything at episode 38. But that being said, we have made it, and we are here to have a blast. Got lots and lots and lots and lots of fun stuff lined up, and we want you to have fun. If you've had a long day at work or possibly maybe just a long day in general, it's always good to listen or talk about some music. That's why we're here. We're always here to talk about music, the music that you like, the music that we know through time and history is pretty important, and all of the above of awesomeness that we hope to provide you tonight. Thank you again for joining me. I can always keep repeating the thanks that I truly feel, because honestly, it's been a long day at work, and this is something that I am super excited to be here on this amazing Wednesday to present with you some awesome stuff. So let's not waste any time and let's jump right in. What do we got this week? Well, we got Wilco. We have been going through the Unca Tupelo. 2 weeks ago, we did a Sun Volt last week, and let's touch a little bit on Wilco, who just released their let me just put it to you this way. They just released their brand new album on September 29th called Cousin. Really good stuff. Sat down and listened to it as a whole on Friday, and honestly, blown away. It was a nice, relaxing listen. There were some good rockers. There were some mind-expanding tracks, I think. It was an overall, I think, a really good album. Starting off with Infinite Surprise was definitely an awesome surprise. A lot of different soundscapes are going through this album in the background, okay? You've heard Evicted already. We've played that on the show here, and we've talked about it. But to me, the second half of the album is really, again, more sonic awesomeness. I like to start with track 7, Cousin. I just think is a really good one. I always like just the quick acoustics that Wilco provide in their songs, and also just the overall difference that they have become from the very beginning of their sound. Okay, Cousin is a great album. It's their 13th studio album, but you're saying to you, any band that has 13 studio albums, they have probably grown and they've probably changed, since 1995's AM, which is just an amazing record with lots and lots of good stuff on there, like Box Full of Letters. I definitely will suggest going back to that first album, but you're going to hear a more of a little bit of where Uncle Tupelo was, where now we're Cousin. We have went through many awesome Wilco albums of sonic, what I would say coolness. 2002's Yankee Hotel Foxtrot was definitely one by Wilco that got a lot of spins from me. A lot of awesome tracks on there. Heavy Metal Drummer is one that never is not in my head, because that's just such a good song with catchy lyrics, which was what Wilco provides. Wilco provides a lot of fun. Even on their 2022 release, Cruel Country, I like that one a lot, because again, it was hearkening back to before the soundscapes, but also that mature Wilco sound, which is really what I think a lot of people, tune into for Wilco. Overall, you're looking for an album that really is building. This is the first time too, okay, since over a decade that Wilco worked with an outside producer. Kate Laban, produced this album. And what they did a little bit different from the last few albums is they decided to record all the instrumentation separate, which is honestly something that when you're listening to it, you could feel that, but it's not a bad thing here. It's a good thing. Because when you're putting on that studio album and you're putting on those headphones, look at that album cover too. If you're just listening, the album cover is just just like a sonic landscape in itself. Wilco's just always delivering what I would deem to be quality albums, from the beginning. I think out of all of the Uncle Tupelos and the Sun Volts and the whole saga, I really have to put my hat in the corner of Wilco, because stuff like Cousins is really, 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 really good. It kind of, a lot of people are comparing the album to a little bit of some of the sonic landscapes that were in Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, which is kind of like was a catapult for the band to that next level. But if you get a chance, please go out there and check out Cousin. It is definitely worth your time. Honestly, always worth your time checking out cool stuff. And in doing, looking up cool stuff and listening to cool things, you want to get out there to the shows, see some good stuff. And there was no show better than the recent September 30th performance by Peter Gabriel at the United Center. Mr. Peter Gabriel was out there center stage, and he was rocking to full effect. Okay, you're saying to yourself, this man put on a 22 song set. Pretty big for a for a man who, you're saying to yourself, this guy's been doing it since the 70s, since with Genesis. I mean, a lot of his contemporaries, even in Genesis, like Phil Collins, can't put on the productions anymore like Peter Gabriel is doing. Peter Gabriel, what I would like to really shout out on this tour is Peter Gabriel's playing with a lot of the same musicians that he played with in that mid-80s, 1985, mid-80s period. Manu Katché on drums, okay, is really, 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 really awesome. David Rhodes is a great guitar player. You would never going to find me not talking about Tony Levin's awesomeness. Tony Levin is just an amazing musician, and for Peter to just be putting this out there for a long time periods is amazing. Okay, he put the band together and started working on So in '85, but it didn't come out till '86. But to say to yourself that these bands have been touring together as a whole for a long time, Peter puts on a great show, and he did not disappoint. If you're looking to hear a little bit more of some older tracks, he mixed that in there. Okay, of course he played Sledgehammer, played Digging in the Dirt. Love that song. Played Red Rain, Big Time, Salisbury Hill, In Your Eyes, Biko, but also mixing in quite a lot of the newer tracks off the new album, which if you get a chance, go ahead and check out some of that. Like Road to Joy is a new song that I've heard recently. It's really, really good. Really, really kind of gives off those classic Peter Gabriel vibes, but really cool to see that he's still touring. Okay, we got to always love a good tour, and speaking of a good tour, Run the Jewels was just in town. And you're saying Run the Jewels, when they're in town, you really want to check them out because they do a really, really good performance. And they were just in town playing for 4 days, playing all 4 of their first albums, Run the Jewels 1, 2, 3, and 4, which was really, 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 really cool to have 4 dates at the Salt Shed in Chicago and be able to, play that type of set. Just really, really good stuff. That is from the night one, which is awesome. Run the Jewels night one was a great night, and that was just a little bit of what that was like if you happen to be in the crowd. And at that show, a little bit of live footage from that. But again, busting out these albums, and then after that, treating the fans to pretty much a greatest hit set. So playing, again, 22 songs. Okay, bands who are going out there and working their butts off to put on these huge performances, I think are just amazing. Okay, if you get an opportunity, please sit down and listen to these Run the Jewels albums. They're definitely worth your time. Run the Jewels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Big fan of Run the Jewels 3. Got to see them on that tour. They actually opened up for Queens of the Stone Age at the Aragon Ballroom. Was a really, really good time. But they're just a good all-around act who put on, I think, just good music. LP and Killer Mike are really, really, really kind of trying to keep, that hip hop vibe alive, and I think they're doing it in a really, really great way. Um, it's not easy. Killer Mike first appeared on record on Stankonia by Outkast, which is pretty cool. I did not realize that until doing this show, researching for it. But again, if you're in the area and you're able to check out Run the Jewels, they just put on an all around really, really good show. Really, really, really good stuff. And again, want to just throw it out there that even if you're not into hip hop a lot, it's really, really good and really worth. It gets in your ear hole if you're putting on those headphones. But Run the Jewels is definitely a performance we're seeing, and it was cool that they, like I stated, did those first 4 shows. Really glad that my buddy, the Scouse Viking, was able to go and send that footage so that we can see a little bit what the performance is like. And honestly, great performance. They honestly, last album came out 2020. So you're saying to yourself, these guys probably are working on new stuff. And when they come back to town, definitely get out there and check them out. And speaking of checking out, I'm always curious to people's opinions on this. And this is kind of why I wanted to throw this right in the middle. And that's major artist backing bands. Okay. And what I mean is that, do you feel, and this is just an open-ended question because I can't really answer it, is, like the Heartbreakers, Tom Petty's backing band, I would have to say that they were equally as awesome as Tom Petty. In a lot of these cases, the backing band is pretty darn cool. And a lot of times they don't get maybe the the front headline praise like the main artist that they are representing. So like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Double Trouble. Do they solo like Stevie Ray Vaughan? No, but to be able to stand on that stage and play with that man every single night, and him to want you to play on the stage every single night, I think is just what I would deem as to be a really, really, really cool experience in a lot of different ways. And by cool experiences, you're just saying a lot of these bands, you're just trying to, maybe keep the flow. But like the E Street Band, look at all the great players in that, from Roy Baton all the way, to, drummer Max Weinberg. You're saying to yourself, just great all around players. I know a lot of people talk negatively about the Dave Matthews Band, but if you just go ahead and put your hand over Dave Matthews and you look at the other players in the band and you kind of like mute Dave's voice, if that's not your thing, those players are some of the best, in the game. Carter Buford on drums, amazing. Nothing that I've ever seen cooler than when Carter Buford came out and they played Soldier Field the year that Walter Payton passed away, and he had on the Walter Payton jersey and stood up. And when he stood up, Soldier Field, which was sold out, went crazy. They went crazier for him, it seemed, than the actual leader of the band. But overall, you're just wanting to, be cool and be there, but you're also bringing a lot to the table. You know what I'm saying? The Wailers were loaded with great musicians. We've spoke about those brothers. Okay. The You just the brothers that were the rhythm section in the band. You really what you're wanting to do is always Barrett is the Barrett brothers is who I was thinking of. But my point is that being a backing band usually comes with a lot more than just standing around and just taking up space or just kind of standing around and trying to look cool. You have to bring it. You really have to bring it. And I think in all the cases that I brought up, these artists, they brought it for the person who was on the stage with them. Okay. For the time, you know, everyone knows, Oates. Look at Oates, Hall and Oates, they're equals. The retractions would be a better one probably because Elvis Costello, but the attractions, um, just an awesome, awesome, awesome Pete Thomas, Steve Niev, Bruce Thomas, great, great, great backing band. Just always wanted to shout out that I think a backing band is important to put up on a pedestal for multiple reasons. But you know, that is exactly what brings us to another man that we always should always talk about, and that is Mr. Tupac Shakur. Amazing song right there. Hit him up. What is kind of sad, and it's also a relief, is that his just this week, it was released that his murderer was caught finally after all of these years. They arrested a suspect, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, in Shakur's murder. Of course, he hasn't been, fully. He has to go to court and be charged, but just to have an arrest in this case, it's brought up a lot of feelings in Tupac and really kind of what he kind of meant to what he was doing, in the time that he was around. Okay. You're saying to yourself, okay, Tupac, okay, he passed away at the age of 25 years old. Okay. At the age of 25 years old, just really, 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 really just an all around bringing in, just bringing it. I mean, what else is there really to say? Okay. I mean, he only had really 4 albums. Okay. Um, 4 albums that he kind of released during his lifetime. Okay. And all 4 are loaded with great, great, great tracks. Okay. As you heard there, that song is great. Hit 'em up. That beginning opening, which unfortunately I won't say right now because I want to keep it positive. I got to keep the show positive. But that's why you blah 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 really, really stuck in my head when I heard that the first time. And unfortunately, probably I look back and wish I hadn't, but a lot of jokes were used with that intro. But going back and thinking about doing this and doing this part, thinking of songs like, I'm just laughing to say it out loud, Brenda's Got a Baby's and a great, 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 great song. Keep Your Head Up is a great, 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 great song. Honestly, So Many Tears is probably one of my favorite just hooks all around. But when you step back and you look at all that he was in and involved with the albums and with the music, you're saying to yourself, this guy, at the age of 25, he released and recorded quite a lot of good stuff. It's awesome that, forever that we will have this type of stuff to remember, but it's sad that it ended so quickly. It's sad that it's taken this long to arrest who possibly could be the man who killed Tupac. So it's really, really, really kind of bringing up a lot of different emotions because I remember actually being in 8th grade when Tupac died, and also right around the same time, which I'm sure they'll catch his killer, and we'll talk about Biggie. Same exact thing with him, which we've talked about, but also along with having this awesome music career, this gentleman had what I would deem to be just an amazing film career. Okay. If just Juice in general could have been the only movie he made, and I would have said, wow. But some of these other movies that you're seeing up on the screen, or if you're listening, movies like Above the Rim, Gridlocked, Poetic Justice, Really, 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 really like those movies. Also, you know, I'm gonna throw it out there. Really, really like just him as an actor. I'm gonna throw out and say that he possibly could have got some really, really good what's the word he could have got some good roles to possibly be nominated. I'm going to throw that out there too, and I'm also going to say that really ridiculous role for Mr. Jim Belushi, um Blues Brothers brother, but teaming up with Tupac. But Gang Related is definitely worth the watch. Just a lot of fun. But go back and check out those Tupac records. Tell us what you think, what your favorite Tupac song is. Always awesome, talking some Tupac. But now what we're going to do here is, well, we have all heard of the mosh pit, circle mosh pit, different this mosh pit, that mosh pit. Generally, a mosh pit, from what I thought, was a mosh pit. But I've been filled in that there's a new kind of mosh pit. Here is the footage of this new mosh pit. If you happen to keep if you just happen to see what we were just watching right there, and unfortunately I don't really understand what we were watching quite yet, but what it was some kind of rowing action that I think the new younger audience is bringing to the table, which just seems odd. Everyone's sitting on a dirty floor where shoes were running and running around and stomping, and who knows if they stepped in something that the dog had at home. But overall, just kind of an odd practice, and one that I thought that I would share with you tonight because, well, who doesn't like sharing some ridiculousness that they find out, especially in the music community? And I thought that was a really, really, really good ridiculousness, and always causing havoc along the way, and kind of awesome in his own way. And that's Mr. Keith Moon. Um, I could talk about Keith Moon for hours and hours and hours. So we're gonna, like, what I like to do with a lot of our stories is they're kind of like running stories. We may pick back up in a couple weeks. We may have a guest on and continue some of these conversations. But I always just got to throw some of these points out there because, well, they're worth throwing out there. Keith Moon is just he's a different drummer. And if you don't know what that even means, then you haven't really listened to yet, sat down and listened to quite any Who album. And today is marks the anniversary of the Who by Numbers. Okay, a number where I deem that Keith Moon, pretty much it might be one of his last golden eras on album. Okay, Slip Kid is a really, really amazing track to get started off of that album. But if you go even to like Success Story, Squeeze Box, always awesome. However Much I Booze, which is generally really interesting because Keith Moon was boozing quite a lot at this period. But Thunder Behind the Kit, really bringing it on the Who by Numbers. I enjoy the Who by Numbers quite a lot. Really like Success Story, John Entwistle singing, like the lyrics there. But very interesting, the recording of some of this, because Keith Moon was a man who just all over the place. Okay, so when they're recording this, when they get into the studio, he hadn't played drums for months, so he wasn't a man who practiced in his free time. Let me put it that way. He was a man of natural talent, and generally, well, that's what was showcased while he was playing, and he was, doing the things in which he did, which was, of course, just ultimate craziness. Okay, imagining some of the stories I've heard. Night on the Town with Keith Moon was crazy. Joe Walsh was really good friends with Keith Moon. Joe Walsh was really good friends with John Belushi, Jim's brother, who I mentioned a little while ago. And as Joe Walsh stated, he's lucky to be alive after being friends with so many just people who like to go out and have a really good time. And that's kind of where Keith Moon is. But his talents behind the drums on Who by Numbers definitely needed to be said. Okay, so when I was seeing that it was the Who by Numbers, I had to throw out my man Keith Moon. But I don't think I've ever shared this, but The Bargain by The Who, really, really, really Keith's drums on Who's Next are just, to me, some of the best drum recording that I've possibly ever heard in my whole entire existence. So if you've possibly been under somewhere and have never listened to Who's Next, please, please check that album out and get back to me at what you think. But never goes too much to say that we can never talk about Mr. Keith Moon enough. And talking about Mr. Keith Moon, we are always into talking about awesome musicians that brought it. So go listen to Quadrophenia, listen to that Who by Numbers album. If you want to go even and listen to the album after Who by Numbers, Who's Next, there is awesomeness of Keith Moon on there. It needs to be shared. Please listen. But that being said, we are coming to my favorite part of the last couple of weeks, and we are in the month of October. So what kind of scary music do we got pulled up for you? This one just kind of clicked this week because I can't even believe that I hadn't talked about this one yet. And this is one of my favorites. Let's just get started and say Bark at the Moon is amazing. Bark at the Moon is amazing. Always loved Ozzy Osbourne's coloring on the albums of his at that point time period. Unfortunately, it's the album after Randy Rhoads passes away, so you do lose a little bit of that awesomeness of Randy Rhoads, but still, Jake E. Lee, I think, produced a really, really, really awesome sound for the album. The album isn't as great as some of the other ones, but just that track, Bark at the Moon, to me is really, really, really awesome. What I would think is to be one of his coolest tracks. Okay. It did only peak at number 12 on the album Rock Tracks, but receives a lot of critical praise from the fans, which is who I am, and I praise it. What I would say is that the video, if you get an opportunity to check out the video, really, really cool. Ozzy dressed in full werewolf regalia, really awesome, gear he's got on, real cool. The werewolf hair, awesome. What I would deem just a really good all-around performance by him. It's been in like Grand Theft Auto City. I remember a couple of years ago he did this festival. It was where they do those, I think it's the solar equinox, and he, as soon as the sun went dark, he lined it up to play Bark at the Moon, which I thought was really, really awesome. But it is never too late to listen to a little bit of Bark at the Moon for Halloween. It better be on your Halloween playlist. It has to be, because it's a great track. Also, The Cramps, a great band that I've just recently been digging deeper into. They're considered the psychobilly subgenre, putting like punk rock and rockabilly together. But Lux Interior and Poison Ivy, Nick Knox, just a great all-around band. And digging into some of those first couple albums, awesome. Songs the Lord Taught Us, really good. I Was a Teenage Werewolf. It's giving off a lot of really cool, like Misfits type vibes. Really like the next album, Too Psychedelic Jungle, Green Fuzz, Goo Goo Muck. Awesome stuff. Great for your Halloween get-togethers is The Cramps. But I some of these, again, I'm just sometimes when we cross these bridges, like in the last year of crossing The Cramps, seriously, I'm thinking to myself, where have I been? Have I been under a rock? Where could I have possibly not been to hear this amazingness? But I'm glad I'm hearing it now, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you, which is what we always love to do, share with you awesome stuff. And, well, we've reached the end of the road. So I want to tell you, everybody, I can't say this enough. Thank you so much for joining. Not just me, but everybody who's a part of the Hookup on Music podcast, and everybody who's a part of all of the awesomeness going down, as always, on the Sadistic Penguin Studios YouTube channel. Please, 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 if you get an opportunity, hit the like and subscribe button. It would really, 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 we would really appreciate it, because, well, who doesn't appreciate a little bit of doing cool things and awesome things and positive things to keep spreading the word of awesome music? And share with me, please. Please reach out if you'd like to come on the show, or you have any interest in some of the topics we talked about tonight. That is what it is about. Check out that new Wilco album. Okay, go back and listen to Tupac. Listen to the Run the Jewels. Go out and see live shows, people. There's so much awesomeness to do. Go to the record store just to hang out like the old days. We're gonna keep barking at the moon, and that's exactly what we're going to do throughout the month of October, with a lot of awesomeness and a lot of coolness. And honestly, until that time, I want to say thank you again. My name is Tony, and we will see you all next week for more awesome Hook Up on Music podcast coolness. Take care, everybody. Good night.